got to get her on here.
Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We've got a couple of, I think, important stories. One about the DOGE cuts and how they might be jeopardizing everyday folks here in Kentucky when extreme weather events happen, which seem to happen, we'll say frequently. And then going to talk about maybe a political sea change that might be underway in Eastern Kentucky. Maybe that's hope casting. We'll see. We'll see about that. And it's going to be a great show because we also have Ian VanSteenbergh, who is the city council member for Midway, Kentucky, just down the road from Lexington. A bucolic, wonderful little community. But Ian may or may not be the youngest LGBTQ plus elected official in the country. Let alone the world. Who knows? We're going to get to the bottom of it, but also hear what he's been working on in Midway and hear about his work and what got him into politics, which is exciting. So, because some people say we need to have more young politicos in the universe. I am definitely in that camp, and whether or not the senior Democrats in Congress are or not. So yeah, it should be a good show. Glad you've joined us. I know there's a lot of internet out there, and I'm glad you decided to spend a little time with us. So before we get into the show, though, I want to just check in. I want to make sure that you right there, dear viewer, are ready to help create a more compassionate commonwealth, because we are so sorely in need of significant political change in Kentucky. To get that change, we need long-term power building to plug more voters into the races that really matter, connecting folks to politicians who can actually make change. Because what we've got right now is not really working out for a lot of Kentuckians. So say if you like our governor, but can't stand what the GOP supermajority in Frankfort has done with their power, we really hope you'll support Progress Kentucky in our effort to fix it. So right now, we're very focused on fighting back against Trump's MAGA regime. We need your help. Please make a monthly contribution right now via our secure online website. Use Act Blue to help us turn Kentucky purple. $5, $10, $20. It all adds up, especially if you're doing it monthly. And none of it is tax deductible because, of course, we are a political entity. So, but it's appreciated for sure. And we are all volunteer and nonprofit. So, we're checking those boxes for sure. Not going to political consultants here at Progress Kentucky for sure. So that's us. I hope you'll consider doing it. A lot of our costs have, risen recently. Our streaming platform, the price went up, et cetera, Crimea River. But yeah, please do think about helping out. So let's check in with our co-hosts. Let us know who you are, where you are, what you're protesting today. This is where we like to be interactive. So you there watching live, please let's see what you're protesting, what you're most concerned about. I know there's a lot that muzzle velocity, that flood the zone strategy that's happening right now. But please do put it in the chat. We can share it on the screen. My sign, I'm Aaron, coming to you from Lexington's lovely deed-restricted Childsburg neighborhood. My sign says, are those tornado sirens or constitutional crisis sirens? Because I'm a little concerned about that right now, the rule of law thing, habeas corpus, if you will. All right, so let's check in with our co-host. Very thrilled to have back in the co-host chair our friend, my friend and yours, Nema Brewer. Nema.
Well, hello, Aaron. I'm so glad to be back. And I'll tell you, my protest sign today says just protest it all, because everything's on fire, everything's upside down, and honestly, just protest it all. Whatever you want to protest today, protest it and do it loud and proud. Yeah. And I'm coming to you from the Wood here on the lovely northeast side of Fayette County. And, it's out on the veranda today, Aaron. I have a veranda here
sure you do.
in the wood.
Extensive
Not
veranda.
deed restricted.
You're not deed restricted in the wood? That's so nice.
I'm not bougie. No.
You can get crazy. You can have chickens. You can have above ground pools. No, we are like, we got all sorts of rules. So many rules.
There's a van in the back in my neighbor's backyard. A van parked against. Yeah. Listen, we have no rules here in the wood. It's fantastic.
I might need to check that out. I might need to check that place out. Now that, one of our kids is graduating high school, the other kid's in like a track where it doesn't really matter where they live. They can go to the school they're going to. Maybe we need to move the wood. I think
come on. I'm just saying, come on.
Schools are legit. Because
you can have a toilet in your backyard. We don't care here in the wood. We don't.
Nice.
We don't.
Nice. All right. Nate's got a sign because our producer Nate is watching this show as well, and his sign says, "Dear member of Congress, say and do something about the executive branch removing due process." Yeah. MOCs, do something about it. I'm with you, Nate. All right, and hopefully one of our other viewers might have something they got to have something they're protesting, because if you're watching us, you're probably watching lots of other things, that are happening in the world. So protest it all, protest some of it, protest whatever fires you up. But yeah, we're gonna do some news stories. It is now news of the week time. Very excited to bring you. This was a Newsweek story, so news of the week from Newsweek. It's a big one. It got a lot of attention on social media, I'll be honest. And then when you kind of like went beyond the headlines, you're like, well, maybe this isn't as big of a deal, but it's a big deal. I'm gonna say it. It's a big deal, right? So the story is that the Kentucky National Weather Service faced stiff, we'll say, staff cuts before the deadly tornado hit. Which, that's a problem, right? So the office in Jackson, Kentucky, did not have a permanent overnight forecaster on Friday as the storms were threatening the eastern U.S. And this is a big deal, right? Because Trump and the DOGE team were working to, cut jobs, definitely more with a, sledgehammer than a scalpel. Definitely a lot of firing people and asking questions later. These layoffs went across numerous government agencies. They shuttered government agencies. And some of those layoffs were included under the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is the parent agency of the National Weather Service, right? So this resulted in some staffing gaps. And this was reported in the New York Times. And it cited Tom Fahey, who's the alleged director for the union that represents the NWS workers, right? So as they were laying off people, they didn't have a permanent overnight person, but because of the risk of the flooding, the hail, the tornadoes, they had to appeal to other offices to help them have the coverage they needed to keep people safe. So they did. Other offices sent staff. They had the people they needed over the weekend to make sure that the alerts were being sounded. But again, it's like, why are we the richest country, most powerful country in the face of the planet ever in the history of time? Why can't we, why do we have to scramble to bring staff in ahead of these emergencies, right? So, they said very clearly the deaths that the very tragic deaths that occurred, were not because of staffing cuts. Announcements were made. They were able to sound alarms. But again, it's like a really just kind of, oh yeah, these folks didn't really think at all about what they were doing. They just did it to get the headlines. They did it for the body count. And then, literally, if we are not more careful, if we aren't thinking about what we're doing, it's like they're scrapping the federal government for spare parts, right? Not thinking about the overall critical nature of the services that are provided. It really is just, I think, for me, quite disturbing, because I know that, as much as people like to rail against bureaucrats, government provides a lot of services that are really important. And I think the weather stuff is quite underappreciated until it's critical, right? And also, along the same timelines, they're announcing they're like not doing climate change reports. They're not doing the research necessary to keep telling the story about how our planet's changing because of pollution, because that's a story they don't want to tell, right? And we can save some money by not doing these reports, and the oil companies that gave me $1 billion will be happy. So really unfortunate thing, because 27 people did die over that weekend as those powerful tornadoes swept through Kentucky, being the hardest hit with 18 fatalities, 9 in Laurel County. Really just tragic for sure. And we don't want, to add to that tragedy by making, some of these preventable because the agencies couldn't do the job they're supposed to be doing. Right. So that's, I guess, what is for me most troubling. Right. So that's the news from DOGE, the news from the Jackson NWS office. So
I think you nailed it, Aaron. And one of the things that I was thinking about with all this as you were talking is I think that we have a real problem with amongst working people in this country on where we assign value to people on a job that we have absolutely no idea what they do every day or how they work to protect us, especially when it comes to our government. It seems as though there is a huge lack of respect for rank and file employees and what they do every day. Let's look at the flight controllers. Newark was a freaking disaster for a solid 2 weeks because you literally had planes dropping off of radars and flight controllers exercising their negotiated right to leave for mental health purposes because they were so shook over 90 seconds of blank radar airspace. So I think that one of the things that I notice more and more, and this is how our society is, right? You either deserve it or you don't. We assign these things to people. And, I think it's easy for people who set up and don't do the job to say, oh, I can do that. We see it in education. Everybody thinks because they went to school, they can teach. Everybody thinks because, they saw their papa, put a muffler on, that they can be a NASCAR, mechanic. Or it's all of these things. And really and truly, this is a problem amongst the rank and file, because let's be very clear. There have been many people from that area who have said, oh, they don't deserve their jobs. They might not have been talking about the National Weather Service, but let's be very clear. When we as working people decide and assign value to other working people of jobs that we can't do, I can't drive a truck, a CDL. I'm not an 18, I could probably learn. But the issue is that we spend more time judging each other than we actually do holding our electeds accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Again,
that's just the bottom line.
And I just come back to it's like, why are we like triaging this stuff? Right? Like, what are like these like just pennies on the dollar savings in terms of what we as taxpayers, are paying into? It's like, if we're serious about deficits, it's not about cutting the National Weather Service, right? It's about taxing billionaires. Like, that's really what it's about. But,
that just makes sense, but that's where that's where the issue is. And so, until we wake up and really start demanding more from our electeds than we do our neighbors, then I think that we should really, we got to start looking at ourselves. That's just me personally.
No, you should look at yourself, Nema. I personally, I'm going to be looking at our electeds. I'm going to be looking very closely at our elected officials, because I think that the vast majority of them are failing in their jobs. What we know is that big, beautiful bill passed very recently in the House of Representatives, and every single Kentucky member of the delegation, except our one Democrat, Morgan McGarvey, and our one crazy person, Thomas Massey, voted in favor of that bill. So it's GOP, party line, which Massey was willing to buck because it didn't cut enough, right? Should have cut more people off Medicaid, I guess, for him to be happy. But, it's like a huge, just buzzsaw to federal services. And, they're happy about it. They're proud of it. They're lying about it on social media. They're lying about it to their constituents. And that's why I think it's time to make a change. And maybe you've got a story that helps us tell that story.
Look at that segue. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have heard that we had a congressman in office for a very long time. And I'm not just speaking of Mitch McConnell. I'm speaking of Representative Hal Rogers. Aaron, I don't know. I was probably 10 years old when Hal got into office. And it's funny because my dad, we went to a baseball game recently and we talked about politics the whole way up. And I cannot wait to talk about this particular race. Hal Rogers has been in office since Jesus was a baby. And they changed the name of the Mountain Parkway to the Hal Rogers Mountain Parkway, or was that the Daniel Boone? I get it confused. However, I do know that a lot of people from the 606 still call it what it was supposed to be called. I guess it was Burt T. Combs, and then they switched it over. I'm not sure how all that worked. I just know that a lot of people in the 606 still can't get over it because you changed it and named it after somebody that was still alive. That didn't make sense. No. But anyway, Hal is kind of, it's probably time for him to go. My 76-year-old daddy worked with him in D.C. in 1982 through 84. So that tells you, how long he's been in office. Now, here's the thing about Hal. Hal has finally maybe met a match in the candidate named Ned Pillersdorf. Now, if you're from the 606, you know the name Ned Pillersdorf very, very well. He's married to Janet Stumbo, who was, I believe, on the Supreme Court of Kentucky, maybe the first woman. I could be mistaken. Please fact check me, Nate, if I'm wrong, or Aaron. We'll do a wrap up on what Nema's mistakes were at the end of the show. But I believe that I'm speaking correctly on that. And so Ned has been a huge advocate for not only shelter dogs and strays, which I think is near and dear to his heart, but he's also been behind the scandal that was Eric C. Kahn, which is literally and figuratively an icon, a Paul Bunyan type legacy or folk tale down in the 606. If you've never seen the Eric C. Kahn docuseries on Apple Plus TV, you are missing truly great television. Ooh. And what has happened down there is there was Eric Kahn. I don't know if you all been down to the Prestonsburg area, but if you're going down 23, you used to go by this majestic trailer park of offices that had a replica of the Lincoln Memorial right there off of 23. It was probably one of the most amazing things that you could see. It was like you go there when you're driving cross country and you want to see the largest ball of twine. You go down to Prestonsburg to see probably Jenny Wiley National Park or whatever state park. And then you also swing by to see the Eric C. Kahn trailer complex, which was a law firm where he was basically running a scam on Medicaid and getting people, their disability. And so what happened was several years ago, he went on the lam, Aaron. He went on the lam. He was busted in a Pizza Hut in some Costa Rica. I don't even know where it was. It was some tropical nation. He's busted eating a personal pan pizza, for God's sakes, by the feds. But he went on the lam. He conned a lot of people out. They lost their Medicaid. And Ned Pillersdorf has been the one fighting to get their benefits back. So Ned is known to be a working person's fighter. He has fought the system. He has said, this is wrong. We cannot punish these people for the actions of this person. And, he's been going about it for several years now. And again, his wife, Janet, lovely person. My dad, and I'll tell this story, I'll PG it down a little bit so Aaron doesn't have a stroke. But so I was talking to my dad and he was talking, singing the praises of Ned Pillersdorf. And he was just talking about Janet and what a wonderful, wonderful woman she was. And she ran against Mitch McConnell many years ago. And my dad said, and let me tell you something. By the time that election was over, poor Janet came out looking like a Jezebel. And that she was just ripping off everybody because that's how Mitch runs the campaign. So Ned and his wife are not foreign to slander and nasty campaigns. So I'm glad to see Ned jumping in. If anybody can do it, I believe he can. Hal has served his time.
Yeah.
And, he just doesn't have the influence. He's not the port king anymore. Let's be very clear. He's had a very difficult time getting that ill-advised prison moved into my home county of Letcher County. And he just doesn't have the same pull that he used to back probably in the 80s and 90s. And so I think it's his time to go. I'd love to see a younger person hop in there, but if somebody has the name recognition and the support of working families in that area, it's going to be Ned Pillersdorf.
Nice. That's great. And an animal lover. What, he started his own like animal shelter?
Yes. I mean, I think he has like St. Bernards. Like he just, it's just like, but again, like my daddy said, watch out, because this is a great woman. She comes out and he just drug her through the mud. Yeah. So, but I think Ned, that was several years ago. So,
and I also feel like, Hal's time, as you pointed out, his influence has waned, his ability to remember anyone's name, kind of had its nadir, right? And he doesn't even live in Kentucky. What I hear is he spends a lot of time in Florida, not necessarily spending time with his constituents anymore. So yeah, I think Pillersdorf is a great recruit. I hope he takes it up. It looks like Nate found a good op-ed that he wrote in the Lexington Herald Leader. If you want to throw that in the Runner Show, I'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole story, Eric Kahn.
Check it out. If you've not watched the Apple Plus docuseries on it, it is an incredible piece of filmmaking, documentary making, and it's just the craziest story you've ever heard. But of course, it's from the 606, so it's legendary. It's legendary. Yeah,
And I did want to just, for the record, note that yes, Nema was correct about Janet Lynn Stumbo being the first woman elected to the Kentucky Supreme Court from 1993 to 2004. She was an associate justice, also was a former associate justice of the Court of Appeals, right? So the rung below. Yeah, so really accomplished woman, not a Jezebel. Not a harlot.
No. Even my mother was like, it was awful, Nema. It was terrible. It was horrible. I mean, my mom's like, it was, so it was apparently that bad. And we're still, think about this though. We're talking politics in the 80s in Eastern Kentucky. Yeah. So none of this really shocks me, but it is one of those cautionary tales, like if you're getting in there, you better watch out. Yeah,
you better be ready to go.
Better be ready.
Ned, but no, I think that's great to see. Obviously, I think the most recent elections in Wisconsin and in Florida make people think that, a lot of seats might be more in play. I think it's been a minute since Hal had a challenger that really got anywhere remotely close. I think, he once lost by 9 points, which, and that was in 1992.
See? I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is not a gimme race for Ned.
Oh, no,
he's gonna need to work really hard. But as he said, people know you and they know you're doing the right thing for folks who need it. It seems like he's got the right resume and the right kind of awareness in the community that's going to set him up for some, at least make it a race.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, totally agree.
And I think I don't know if we've had you on since Sherilyn announced. We had Sherilyn on since she announced. How are you feeling about that race?
Well, personally, I am 125,000% behind Sherilyn Stevenson. I've known Cher for several years now, and we've been in the trenches together. And when I say trenches, I mean trenches. I mean, we're talking about full-blown fistfights. And not for real.
You and she.
Yeah, I mean, not for real, right? Yes, right. But we've kind of seen the process together. We've gone through it together. I think that she's a perfect candidate for this job. I think, Sherilyn is a good mountain Democrat. She has never veered from her values, her mountain values. And mountain Democrats are a little bit of a different breed. but she also is a listener. She's not so much of a yappeter, right? She's going to get in there. She's going to roll up her sleeves. She's going to do the work, and she's going to listen and to people that may not always believe what some Democrats are saying anymore. Because she not only does she do what she says she's going to do, she also has integrity. And I can say that personally. I've been with her every step of the way when she first got into office. I think there's something to be said for someone in office that served as long as she did for 6 years, 3 terms. I think that there's something to be said for somebody who never became what they went in politicking against. And while she was in Frankfurt, it's very easy to fall down that rabbit hole. She never voted for something that crossed a line for her personal integrity or the integrity of her constituents. And I don't think that you can ask for a better person. She's a fighter. She is a workhorse. Her team is legendary in this state now for the work and the doors that they knock. It's a bipartisan team. It always has been. With Democrats and Republicans working together. She's a huge public education advocate. Probably the biggest in the state until, unfortunately, she got thrown out in a Trump year. But that's fine. I do think that there won't be another representative in the 88th that cares about public education like Sherilyn does. And I believe that it was a huge mistake, but that's just me personally. But I will say that she is an intriguing candidate. And I think that she's getting attention a lot more than other people thought that she would get. And I hope that in the same way that she shocked the 88th back in 2018, that she shocks the 6th and proves once again the naysayers wrong. Listen, Team Cher loves to be the underdog. Team Cher loves to always feel like they're fighting 30 points behind, right? Nothing is taken for granted with Team Sherilyn. She's going to work. She's going to listen. She's the best choice for the 6th. And I stand by it as far as Nema Brewer, Esquire, not Nema Brewer, anything else.
You're not Esquire. Let's just like that. No. And I personally, am thrilled about Cher's candidacy for sure. I'm so glad that she jumped into that race. It makes it, like a legit candidate who's going to work hard, who knows how to fundraise, even though it's like hard. But, the fact that she's already got an Axios story about Republicans being nervous about that, that's a great sign. I mean, Nema, and I hope this doesn't come to blows between us, but I hope more candidates get in. I like a contested primary. I like more people knowing that the race is on, right? Because if you've got one person running a race, that's great. They're going to get their, their organizers out there. They're going to be out there knocking on doors. If you got 5 other people, it's kind of like, times 5 in terms of the amount of engagement. And people sleep on democracy. People sleep on these congressional races. We have got to get people engaged, right?
And I completely agree. Let me tell you something. I don't think Team Cher's afraid for a fight. She came through a 3-person primary back when she won in 2018. And listen, I can say this confidently when I say we actually had to go outside of Lexington and Fayette to fundraise because so many people in this county had already written her off and had said that, oh, this person is the anointed one. And so what that did is it made us work harder. It made us dig deeper. It made us become more creative, made us more, I believe, bipartisan in nature. And, even though it was a primary, it really opened, I think, a lot of doors. People, when you have to work for something, Aaron, it's a whole lot different than if you're handed it or you inherit it. And so, we took the opportunity. We proved a lot of people wrong. And, I don't like to gloat, but,
she wasn't the favored candidate, right? And if we think about the 6th district, and it's changed a little bit since then, but the last time it was competitive was, when Amy McGrath, was the candidate in the, against Andy Garland, Hale, Barr, the 4th, normalize calling him Garland, Hale, Barr, the 4th. Yes. We don't want anyone getting positive Andy halo effects, right?
Not the same Andy. Yeah.
No, different.
Yeah.
In fact, he's not even really an Andy. So he's a Garland. And he needs to own that. But when that was the most recent closest race, right? So And Amy McGrath was not the favored candidate. She was not the like politically, ordained candidate. She came in as an outsider, and that helped her, So like, let's not just, we're not gonna give anyone, a kind of like seal of approval. People need to earn it, but also, Susan, I think you're totally right. Primaries can act as a vehicle to get those candidates' names out there again and get interest, get people knowing that there's a race on, right? John Pennington is here watching, and he's running in the 2nd district, or might be running in the 2nd. He's interested. Brett Guthrie just is the guy who like signed off on, let's cut all this Medicaid. So seems like that wouldn't be that popular. John, get out there for sure. And we're hearing other names are getting thrown in the hat. Monica Dean is running against Massey. She's got a great, kind of bio and resume as a former military officer. And I saw another name popping up against Jamie Comer. So I don't think Aaron's running again, but there's somebody running against Comer. So that's, yay for sure. And just so folks know, like we're not endorsing Cher. We will do in this process and throughout this process, in the past, and we more than love to do it again. And we did a kind of a digital not a debate, but a forum giving all the candidates from the 6th district a chance to share their views and their values here on Progress Kentucky's Kernels of Truth. We will do that again for sure if more folks jump in. I know that there's a former or current federal prosecutor here in Lexington who's, I think, thinking about running. I know there's a former like city council or Fayette County government official maybe who's thinking about running, but I haven't seen anything official yet. But so I don't think it's going to be like, an uncontested primary. But I wouldn't bet against Cher because
I'm not on her payroll, but I'm not. So I just wanted to say that. But I think I do agree that a nice primary is robust because it does get you into kind of a fighting shape as well if you're coming through as a candidate. And I think that really was helpful for Cher's first race here because you're getting your sea legs, right?
Who did she run? Who was in that primary? I think it might have been before my time.
It was I don't know the lady's name. I hate to say that. And then there was Josh Mears, who was a good, robust. What I liked about the races, they kept it clean. They did not get in the mud. They didn't try to go there. That's appreciative of because. And, it was like other people were like, it was like they then said, this is support her. That's what we need. We don't need to beat each other up, in a primary. And most importantly, we've got to stay united on whoever comes out. So I want to be very, very clear. Whoever comes out is going to get my personal vote. Yeah. But I'm excited about voting for my friend, not just an elected that I know, but my friend for a congressional district. That is what my hope is. And I believe my daughter will be able to actually vote for her as well, which is going to be very, very cool.
That's exciting. So I guess one thing I'll note, and then we should move on because we have got an awesome guest who's like been waiting way too long. But I think having those contested primaries, but where they can come together afterwards, where there's not a lot of sore feelings and like thinking about, okay, so when did the Democrats have success recently? Not that we're a partisan show, but Andy Beshear did a really good job, Rocky
including the Rocky people
payroll afterwards, right? And Rocky's a great campaigner, and having Rocky in his corner, and so I thought that was like a sign of how you do things, right? Because every candidate's gonna have strengths in different areas, but if they're actively engaged in your campaign and supporting you, and whereas I think we think back to not Amy's 2018
Senate
run,
race,
but the Senate race, right? And it got a little bit muddy, and it was not nice, but it wasn't horrible. But they did not coalesce. They
did not embrace. There was no embrace.
I thought those were actually three strong candidates.
Absolutely,
right? And Charles Booker and Mike Breuer. Love Mike Breuer. Love what Charles Booker was looking to do with the kind of hood to the holler.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know if it's Amy. I don't know if it's her campaign or what happened, but they did not show a unity kind of vibe
No.
whatsoever afterwards, which is
No, and that's where we're really, really hurting. And and of course, I believe that we're really, really hurting because we aren't talking about working people issues, and we're not. We're getting bogged down in things that honestly only only a certain fringe is beating the horn about, beating the drum about.
Yeah.
And so we've got to stop doing that. We've got to get ourselves together. We've got to become adults. We've got to have the hard conversations, and if we're going to be the big tent, we've got to actually embrace that we also have moderates as well as progressives, and that we've got to somehow manage to coexist. And if we don't do that, and we don't start coalescing around working people's issues and putting labor first and listening to labor and building labor to build.
Hey, Nema, what's our minimum wage here in Kentucky?
Oh, I believe we're still at $7.25.
Yeah, and the federal's what?
Yeah. The same. I mean, when I was growing up, what? I think I was making $7.25 at one point.
It's insane.
I mean,
and that's where we are. Like, the Democratic Party
criminal.
couldn't be bothered to campaign on it, right? But you put it on the ballot, and people vote for it. So if there are those types of issues where the people will vote for it, if you give them the choice, but the Democratic Party isn't really talking much about it, like, well, that's a kind of a clear opportunity for, like, do something a little bit smarter, please, Democrats. And that's why we are not a part of the Democratic Party, because we're going to tell you the truth that is just so dumb. Like,
well, it is dumb, and it's frustrating, because it's almost like we've spun ourselves with consultants into the ground. And I'm like, dude, just be yourself, know?
Yeah.
So
that's the authentic thing. People like authenticity. But if you don't care about the fact that the minimum wage has not been elevated since Nema was getting it, which was just really
1991. No, we're talking, and I appreciate that, but we're talking a long time, and I'm still like, what? I mean, like, I can't, even imagine. And, we cannot have family values if we have disintegrated our family because they're working themselves.
Because they can't get by on one job. Anyway,
exactly
all right. So,
but anyway, go ahead. We got to get turned.
Bust in here and yell at me to bring Ian on. So I am so sorry about the delay here, but I blame Nema. Really excited to have with us our guest. Not bringing his corgi, I don't think, but we just
have a corgi.
Oh my God, look at that. We have Ian VanSteenbergh, who is a Midway city council member. Really excited about that because Midway is in fact a city, and I wasn't quite sure, and now I learned that just now because I saw it on the graphic. Now, Ian, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So do you in fact have a corgi? Was that just used for the campaign photo?
No, I do in fact have a corgi. That's for sure. He's not going to be joining the show, I don't think. Unless he comes.
My corgi might, Ian. Yeah, I have a corgi as well.
Okay,
I did not realize that we have this in common. And so now I love you even more. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to Corgi Corner. We're going to talk about Kentucky corgis here on the Corgi Corner. No, we're going to talk about politics because that's what we do, Ian. And you, in fact, also a corgi lover and a politician. You are the perhaps youngest elected LGBTQ plus city official. I don't what is going on. What do you know? What do you know you are? Let's make you exemplary.
I like to say maybe one of the youngest. If you say the youngest, then someone somewhere out there is going to fact check you, and it's just not going to end up good.
Yeah.
So
you've done some Google searches and you can't seem to find anyone younger.
I can't seem to find anyone younger. Actually, I was endorsed by the LGBTQ Victory Fund which is national, of course. And I don't think that there was anyone younger than me. Again, I could be wrong,
gotcha.
but I don't see it.
We're not going to say anything completely definitive right now because no one wants to get sued over this. I don't know exactly. How good, but well, that's cool. Congratulations, because I don't know that I would have thought like, oh yeah, the youngest LGBTQ politician in Kentucky. Midway, of course. That's where they're coming from, is Midway. But what got you into the political fight? Why did you decide to run for office?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a shock when you go, oh my, like out of the entire nation, Midway, Kentucky, it has the spotlight. And that's definitely not why I decided to run. I think the main point was, first off, I've been going to council meetings, trying to figure out, okay, what's going on in my government, because that's the easiest way for people to get involved. And I like to say that's where a lot of your day-to-day things happen. Your taxes, what the roads, who's paving the roads, sidewalks, you name it. All of that is local. And, a lot of people say politics is local. So decided to get involved and kind of just look at what my city council was doing. And I'd been involved in politics, I've been campaign volunteer, just kind of out throughout high school. I was like, I want to be involved and do something, because otherwise I can maybe share something on social media, but it's all going to go to the same group of people that think the same way I do. So that's when I just started getting involved in things. And it was maybe about a year before the election, and two of the council members said that they were actually going to retire and not run for re-election. So I decided, this could be my time. This could be a wide open place. And with two people out of the six that said that they weren't going to run, I go, well, my chances are pretty good. And hopefully we don't have to have a big general election, because Midway, Kentucky does not have any primaries. That's a really unique thing about us. And I just decided, you know what? There's no one that looks like me, that kind of has my same background. Most of the town, they had been talking about issues for the future. There's been proposed developments. There's been just a lot of controversial things that have gone on. And when they would talk about the next generation, I didn't feel like there was a person at the table that could accurately speak towards that and to speak those experiences. And that's where I go, if there's no one that's going to step up, I better do it. And I want to see the change, and I have to do that. I can't wait for anyone else to do that. And, I just got support from people that said, no, we need young people in politics. And I'm like, well, I've grown up in Midway. Do I really have a shot? And people are like, with everything going on, there's definitely room at the table. So I decided to just, go down to the county clerk's office, sign all the paperwork, and officially announce my campaign. And the rest is history from there.
Nice. Well, congratulations on, seeing the need, identifying yourself as somebody who could maybe meet that need, and throwing your hat in the ring. It's not, it's not for the faint of heart. Hopefully no one called you a Jezebel or dragged your name through the mud, but it happens. It happens to people who do not, deserve it, for sure.
Yes.
And, I think what's awesome is that, you're not just, city council, and you're paying attention to the whole area, the region. We know, because Annabelle told us, you're one of the co-founders of the Henry Project, which is a PAC that's working to help support candidates kind of in your neck of the woods, which I think is great. Like, see the change, be the change, and help bring more change along. Because we are not, it's not one city council race that's going to fix what's going on in the bluegrass, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's kind of, going through my race. Again, it ended up to be very competitive. There were 9 people running for 6 spots, 4 incumbents. So it got to be a little crowded, but kind of like how you talked about that primary, contested primaries make better candidates. I truly believe that having this kind of contested general election, when could have been anybody's game, even the incumbents could have been voted off. That's kind of what made us all stronger candidates and allowed us to become stronger elected officials, because we knew our seat was not guaranteed. So we had to go out there and actually, work for people's votes. A lot of times in small city council races, I know, especially in Midway, sometimes they don't put up yard signs. Sometimes they don't, do door-to-door canvassing. Maybe they'll do paid social media ads. Sometimes they might not even have a campaign Facebook page. So in having that, general election that could have been anybody's race, it made me go out one more time. I said I hit every door in Midway once, and then I did it again just to make sure that people knew who I was, what kind of policies that I was going to bring, and just show myself. And that's what made me a better candidate and a better elected official, because then I could listen to what other people had to say. I had ideas, and the people that I talked to also had ideas for, the policies that we should enact. But when you're talking to someone else that has different ideas, you really try to combine everything and go, okay, this is how we make meaningful change that impacts everyone. And that's kind of what we did with the Henry Project. We said, where are the gaps? And again, running my campaign, found the gaps. Annabelle is also really, really good of campaign management. We have another person on our board that's really good with campaign finance. So we just decided to bring all of that together and go, what are we missing here in Central Kentucky? And that's when this idea just came up, and we've hit the ground running from there.
Well, I love it. Nema, any questions you got for Ian?
No, I just think kudos to you. I think so many times people think it's, they don't want to do the work. They just want to walk into the seat, right? Or they're scared, or they talk themselves out, or they're told you can't raise the money. And I think it's incredibly inspirational and it gives me hope to see our younger folks getting so involved. And I'm behind y'all 125%. Aaron and I don't want to be doing this with our walkers. Frankfort is not even accessible. I've already thought about this. And so, so we need you all. And I think that there might be a feeling that, every time you're not, but understand that there are more of us that are in support of the work that you guys are doing, the passion that you have. And, we need each other. We learn from each other. And I think that the Democratic Party in particular needs to embrace our young folks, because, we don't, I'm a Gen Xer. I don't want to do this forever. I'm used to being, jumped over or, held back. So I don't mind to share the space. And I think that that's the issue that we have. We have people that are holding on much too long, Hal Rogers in particular. And we did it. Listen, the Democrats are just as bad. I mean, we had Dianne Feinstein, who I think destroyed her own legacy by the way that she handled her exit from office. And I think it's really unfortunate. So I think we should clear the lane as much as we can for you all. But we also want to help. And we also, want to be asked, hey, what are the pitfalls, right? Like, don't ever be caught in a knife fight and somebody call you a Jezebel. Like, that is the number one thing, But I mean, I do think that we can learn a lot from each other. And I just am appreciative for you to be in this space. You're starting local. You're getting those folks. You're not jumping in and saying, hey, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to say, listen to me. I'm this. No, you're listening. You're doing the work. That's the way we win. And that's the way Democrats win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'll jump off of that and say, I was first-time candidate. I had been on campaigns, kind of knew how you're supposed to do things. But when you're a candidate, it completely changes, because you're the face of the campaign. You're the one that's having to answer all the questions. You talk to your team and your friends and you go, okay, what am I doing? I need to figure this out. But it's really learning is the biggest part of the job. And that's just been the most fun out of everything, is I get to hear people and talk to them and hear what they have to say, instead of me just preaching all of these ideas and my platforms that I'm going to run on. There are plenty of people that when I stopped to their door, they were like, first off, how old are you? And second off, they said, great that you're running. Here are my concerns. Because that's the first thing that I would ask is, hey, my name's Ian VanSteenbergh. I'm running on these issues, but I want to hear from you, because that's what elected officials are supposed to do. They're supposed to listen to those that they represent, even if they didn't vote for them. I mean, honestly, I came in 4th out of 6. I'm just glad to be on council. And I don't care if it was 1st or 6th, I'm still on council. And I'm still responsible for all of the 1,700 people that are in Midway, whether they voted for me or not. And as a first-time candidate, I thought that was, I thought it was just great to get 4th place and to hear people. And now I'm surrounded by a bunch of the 4 other incumbents also did win their re-election, and then one person that had previously served on council also won. So I'm surrounded by a lot of different voices, just even on council, and it's been nice to learn from them as much as they've learned from me. You know, it's a two-way street. So I think there's just a lot to be learned from everybody.
Well,
Absolutely.
I love that you're like taking that approach. I love that you started locally, right? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to run for something, so I'm going to run for Congress. Like, well, that's, you know, that's really starting, you know, with high aspirations, right? That's a lot of humans you're going to represent. Hard to knock on all those doors, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's really wonderful you started locally. You're, you know, also because like what affects most people's lives is local politics, right? You know, unless maybe you are on Medicaid or, you know, rely exclusively on Social Security, you know, like, but I think it really is like, it's where a lot of your, the influence of your lives are being made, the decisions that are being made at local political offices really do matter. Yet there's very little political attention given to those local, you know, decision makers. So, you know, I think it's a smart move, you know, and wherever you want to go in the future, whether it's just to, you know, be a really informed realtor, that's great. And you're learning a lot more about the people who matter, right? But I think also, and I hope that you're looking at kind of like up the ladder of where you want to go politically, you know, because I think we need more smart, enthusiastic, you know, folks who are willing to listen and who are willing to knock doors to get out there and represent folks. So again, thanks, Ian. Appreciate
Yes,
the
good to
time
meet
hang
you.
out with
Yeah.
us.
Thank you all.
And all again, we like to be transparent in this organization. In the interest of full disclosure, we have in fact paid Ian to, I hope you got the money, to design our logo. But he like went above and beyond. He didn't charge us very much money. And, you know, he gave us a lot of options. We like the colorways. We like the different designs. And we are really excited about our rebrand. But I didn't know at the time that it was you doing it. Annabelle was very kind of vague about where these things were coming from and how much they were going to cost. But yeah, great work, by the way. So we really do appreciate that.
It's excellent. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just very supportive of your all's work, and that's why I was like, oh yeah, I'll do this. Absolutely.
Well, thanks again. Any final thoughts you want to share, you know, with us or with our viewers or your constituents if they've happened to tune in?
You know, I think the only thing to say is it's been one, thank you all for having me. It's been a whirlwind since I've been elected. You know, I got a lot of TV interviews, a lot of press just for being one of the youngest. I'm the youngest in city history. And it's been an experience. And that's what anyone that wants to run for office, I tell them, first off, you have to have a reason why. You're not running against anyone. You're running for something, even if it's Democrat, Republican. My race is nonpartisan, but you have to have something that you're running on. You could be running against these candidates, but in my case, I have to work with them. I can't be negative because otherwise it's just not going to be a good working relationship.
Wait, you have to work with the people that are also in that elected body? Whoa.
Yeah, crazy.
Whoa, Ian. That's not how it works in the big leagues. You know, in the big leagues, it's just, no, I only work with the Democrats or I only work with them. Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
You should get to Congress immediately because what the fuck they're doing right now is so disgusting. We only get to pass one bill per Congress because we can only do one reconciliation bill. And that's the only way we can pass anything is through reconciliation. It is the most infuriating situation. And if you pulled that shit in your city council, they would get you booted, right?
Yeah.
But no, we're like, oh, I guess that seems fine.
Yeah. Yeah, they would kick me off immediately.
Breathe, Aaron.
Yeah. So that's the one thing is you got to work with people, and the second part is start locally, and that's when you're going to change a lot of minds. You know, regardless of my political party, there were people all across the aisle, Republicans, Independents, Democrats, that supported my campaign. I mean, I had my campaign signs next to Trump, and I had them next to Harris, and I had them next to state rep. I've had them next to other council candidates. And when you move up that ladder, that's when people, you already established that you're going to work for people. And they don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. They just want to know that you're going to do a job for them and protect their interest, even if you disagree. I disagree with some of my family members, but at the end of the day, we still talk it out, and we build on all of these ideas. So that's just what I have to tell people is start local if you can, get that name recognition, show people exactly what you can do, and then it'll be a little bit smoother sailing once you try to go up that ladder.
Awesome. Amen.
Ian,
thanks again, good lessons for everyone who wants to be involved with politics. I hope, what was the guy's name? John Pennington perhaps is listening because he's thinking about running against Guthrie. But hey, anyway, appreciate you taking the time and have yourself a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Ian.
so
all right, so Ian VanSteenbergh, Midway City Council, really fantastic corgi owner, logo designer, youngest LGBTQ elected official in the history of Midway, and potentially the history of the world. We don't, we can't say for sure, but pretty impressive nonetheless.
Absolutely. And the corgi, I would have already voted. Just by the corgi, he's got my vote. I don't even live in Midway. I would move to Midway just to vote for him because he's a corgi owner. So, yeah. All right. I think we're ready, right? I think
Let's do it.
This is our call to action. We are making a concentrated push to sign up more monthly donors. If you're listening right now, you are the perfect candidate to help Progress Kentucky advance our efforts to turn our Commonwealth purple. Our monthly expenses are modest, but our live streaming platform isn't cheap. Action Network isn't too expensive, and our communications team could always use more resources to create and share the message and stories to educate and engage Kentucky voters. And that's where you could come in. $5, $10, or $20 a month really adds up, allows us to budget to fight Trump, support Andy, and end the next 12 months of resistance with more supporters and backers to hold and flip key seats throughout the bluegrass. Just head to Act Blue right now and join the amazing new monthly donors who have signed up in the last week. If that's you, thank you. If it's about to be you, thank you. And Aaron, I'm glad that I just read that reminder because I need to go and click and make myself a monthly donor as well.
What? Yeah, that'd be awesome. We'd appreciate Nema for sure.
I'm in. Listen, I support the work that you guys do. Happy to be in the trenches with you guys anytime. And I encourage people to go out and, $5, $10, again, it adds up if you do just the monthly reoccurring. I know we're all stretched thin, but this is how we gain power, is by pooling our money because we're not rich, we're not billionaires, and this is the way that we get working people's voices out.
Yeah, we still have not figured out the Soros portal to be able to put our expenses in. We've not found that, unfortunately. And the only billionaires that seem to be ponying up big money are not on our side.
No.
Yes. Thank you, Nema. That means a lot to us. And it means a lot that you're here once a month.
I appreciate that.
One of my favorite Wednesdays of the month for sure. I give you a hard time because you deserve it, but also it's a lot of fun to be able to do this thing with you.
Absolutely, it's a lot of fun.
It's like my therapy to some degree. I get to do this like on a live stream to talk about politics with people I really respect, hear their views, sort through the absolute shit show that we're living right now, right? Man, this is like, I should be paying you all, really, but some of this is clear, therapy. No one's paying me. This is all volunteer. We've not figured out how to get any of that mattress money, any of that supplement money. No one is giving us resources for gut health.
No.
What we are is trying to help everyone get through this, right? And help build a little bit of power so we can be better at the other side of this and we can make some changes we all know we need, right? You can't watch what's happening in Kentucky politically and go, yeah, this seems great. Right? Like this is just a mess.
Sign me up for more. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I would like another.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And this is good to build community. I'm big on We need to rebuild our communities that we've lost through COVID, where we've been so splintered in social media. So this to me is community. This to me is reaching across different platforms and with different groups that have different interests, but also very similar interests, and just where we can work together and finding those ways to amplify voices. So I appreciate you guys very much.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you, Nema. One other call to action, just to make sure everyone's clear about it. Put June 14th on your calendar. It is in fact the No Kings 2.0, because we kind of already did No Kings before, but now everyone's doing No Kings, and that's on June 14th. That's because the big orange dictator is doing his huge military parade inspired by Kim Jong-un or whatever dictator.
Right.
They all do it. So he's joining the ranks, the wannabe dictators and strongmen with their big military parade. Super gross. It's going to cost a lot of money. So we're going to protest that bullshit, and we're going to be down at Courthouse Plaza, because that's where we show up. We're going to try to pack both squares, get as many humans there as humanly possible. We're going to line the streets with signs so you cannot avoid the message that we do not have kings in the United States of America, and executive orders are not, decrees from the monarch, right? It's bullshit, and they're just they really are, glorified press releases that somehow people are treating as a real law, and they're not laws, right? So we need to fight back. We need to tell the story about our rule of law and what it means, and that separation of powers, and push back against it. You should be there. We've got a Mobilize link, Facebook event that I think we just shared. But yeah, sign up. Make sure, bring your friends. It's Father's Day weekend, so bring your dad. Bring your dad. Nema, we want to meet your dad. I think
I'll see if I can get him out. Yeah, he's elusive. Tell
him there's a Reds game happening there.
Well, he's a Cubs fan. That would
not
help.
Is he really?
But he'll probably. My dad loves to talk politics, so we'll definitely figure something out there. I think that's him calling right now, actually.
Right. Well, we're gonna let you talk to your dad, because I never want to bring him be between a daughter and her father.
It was my dad, for real.
All right, we got to close the show out, and I'm going to do it right now. And Nema, again, thank you so much for joining us. As folks know, Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization. We are registered with Kentucky Secretary of State. We are organized as a 501c4 organization. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement. And we're also proud members of the Forward Kentucky Network. Thank you, Bruce Maples, for all your work. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. Please join us next week for our 213th episode. Super exciting. Production of episode 212 was by Nate Orshan. Always so thrilled to have Nate back in the producer's chair. We're going to bring Nate back because he's got a new song. We got a little a cappella rendition recently, but we need to hear the full production of his new song. He also wrote and performed our theme song, and you can find more information and hear his music at natosongs.com. Songs by NATO, not songs about NATO. There will be nothing about the North Atlantic Treaty Organization on natosongs.com. Do not be misled. But if you've missed our weekly live stream on Facebook or on YouTube, audio podcasts and our show notes are available on Apple, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, really wherever you get your podcasts. We're there, I'm pretty sure. If we're not there, let us know. And if you do listen to the podcast right now, stop listening, stop doing what you're doing. Leave us a 5-star review so we can help find more ear holes to get our propaganda into. That's the show. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.